Is the best new hot hatch actually a pickup truck? This is the Ford Maverick Lobo, a performance version of the crossover-based truck, and it also just might be the best looking vehicle of 2025. And nobody's tested it yet until now. This is Edmunds fully tested, so you know the drill. We're gonna do 0 to 60, quarter mile, braking, skid pad, take it around our handling circuit to see how it does, and we're even gonna test out that closed circuit only Lobo mode to see if we can get the rear to slide around on this thing. Oh no! And the best hot hatches, of course, combine utility with fun, so we're gonna check out the bed and the interior as well. I have been waiting to drive this thing for months. I cannot wait any longer. Let's go! So we're gonna start off with a key up run, which means no changing drive modes, just put it in normal and then see how it does. That's the key up run out of the way. So the quickest way that we found to do this is Lobo mode. I'm gonna go manual shifting as well and use the paddles. And then we're gonna brake torque it to about 3,000 RPM and then let it rip. Oh, definitely gets away quicker that way. There's the quarter mile, time to slow it down. So definitely a quicker result using Lobo mode and giving it some brake torque at the beginning. Now this thing has the same engine as the other Mavericks and even things like the Escape or the Bronco Sport, but it has a different transmission. It's got a quick shift 7-speed automatic transmission out of a Focus ST, which is sold in Europe. And that is basically the exact same transmission as the regular Maverick, but it's got second gear deleted. And the reason for that is to make it so that if you're on an autocross or something like that, you can kind of just live in second gear and you don't have to deal with constant up and down shifts. The problem is though that for an Excel run like this, you kind of want that extra gear to help it kind of build speed more quickly, especially in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range. And because it's missing that, that's probably the reason why that this thing is actually a little bit slower to 60 than the regular Maverick Lariat we tested previously. Okay, now it's time to test out braking, which I'm curious about because this also has the upgraded brakes off the Focus ST with more powerful 2-piston front calipers. So for braking, we get up to 60 miles an hour and then slam on the brakes to see how long it takes. All right, speeding up here, we are at 60 miles an hour, coasting for just a moment. On the brakes. Ooh. Ooh. That took longer and further than expected. We were expecting braking to improve actually with those upgraded brakes, but instead this thing actually takes much longer to stop than the regular Maverick. This even takes longer to stop than the Maverick Tremor we tested, and that thing was on all-terrain tires. I suspect that the tires here have a lot to do with this. It's got Goodyear HTs, and HT stands for highway terrain, whatever that means, but it's an all-season tire. The problem with it though is it has a 680 tread wear rating, and what that means is that it's really firm. It's a hard tire. Summer tires have much lower numbers than that, and that's why they have a lot more grip. They're able to actually hold onto the road. This thing, I don't think that the problem was that the brakes are underpowered. I think that this tire, it just doesn't want to help you stop at all. So how does the Lobo measure up when we compare it to other hot hatches and affordable performance cars? Unfortunately, not very well. It's not as quick, it doesn't brake as well, and it can't corner as hard as these competitors. But let's see if it can shine where it counts. Fun. Now this is where we find out if this is a performance car that happens to have a bed, or if it's a truck with delusions of grandeur. All right, so we've got the truck in its Lobo mode, the most aggressive drive mode, meant only for closed circuits. And yeah, coming out here, oh! immediately you can tell that these tires are really not up to snuff. When you try to turn it in here, you can feel it. Oh, big slide there. You can feel the nose start to push, but it's not because the suspension feels unbalanced. I think it's because the tires just don't have enough grip to really keep the truck in line. All right. Coming down here to the hairpin, we're gonna try to really get the nose down in and understeer. Come on. It's really important to get the nose in the right spot here to run up the hill, especially since this thing doesn't really have too much power. Coming over the hill, the weight balance is pretty good. I can get it. Oh, no. The weight balance is pretty good, but the front is just washing out. This thing does have a tighter steering rack than the regular Maverick that it borrows from the Ford Kuga. And if you haven't heard of that, it's because they sell it in Europe. It does mean that it does feel a bit more taut on the front end, but again, you're just really trying to tuck this front end down in here and it just doesn't want to go. The other thing too that's a problem with the Maverick, these seats do not keep you in place at all. It's not that they're uncomfortable, they're just very flat. So on these corners here, you can't really see it, but my knee is jammed up against the door trying to really hold me in place. Come on tires. Oh. Now we mentioned Lobo mode, which we're using on a closed circuit. It's kind of the equivalent of track mode in a Mustang. And that activates the rear torque vectoring so that it can actually move the power left to right in that rear axle and help to mitigate understeer a little bit. The problem is to activate it, you've got to kind of overdrive the car. So coming into the hairpin here, I'm going to tuck the nose and get on the throttle, and you can feel it understeer until at a moment, and then it goes, okay, there goes the rear, and then you feel it move. But it doesn't really kick in early enough for me. It actually lets the nose understeer quite a bit before it moves that power to the outside wheel. I do wish the system was a bit more reactive and that it was easier to turn it on and you didn't have to kind of overdrive the vehicle to get it to where you can really feel it working. So how does this compare to other hot hatches or affordable performance cars? Because there are no performance trucks to compare this to, it doesn't quite measure up, not on fun. Things like the GR Corolla, which starts around the same price, or even the Elantra N, those two vehicles in particular are going to give you a lot more fun. They feel a lot more agile than this thing does, but those two also come on much better tires. So I do think that if the Lobo was offered on something like a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, that would really do wonders for it, and I'd be really excited to test that truck out if Ford ever decided to offer it. I think the suspension could also be lowered even more. This thing is lowered about an inch compared to a regular Maverick, and yeah, it does feel a bit more hunkered down, but I think that if you dropped it about 3 inches, not only would it look better, it'd probably be better to drive out here too. So while I was a little bit let down by how the Lobo drives, I am still so enamored with the way that it looks. It gets a unique front grille here that I especially like. Probably my favorite part of the truck, the way it comes down here and then juts out forward, gives it a very strong sort of like chin, like Jay Leno. And the black Ford logo, that thing is always cool as well. Also really enjoy these 19-inch wheels. Now these are the standard wheels on the Lobo, these dishes. There's actually an optional wheel, but don't buy that thing, don't pay extra, they don't look as good and they don't make the truck feel as distinctive. You're also gonna be able to get a black roof, and it's only offered in 4 different paint colors, which is kind of a bummer, but one of those is Velocity Blue, the same one we have on our long-term Ford Ranger, and we love the way that truck looks. Here on the inside, you're also gonna get a few unique styling touches. There are grabber blue accents on the air vents and on the doors, and you're also gonna get stitching on the steering wheel and on the synthetic leather seats in grabber blue, and also electric lime, which sounds like a Gatorade flavor and kind of looks like one. You're also going to get the Lobo logo embossed right into the seat backs. The rest of it is kind of standard Maverick fare on the interior, for better or worse. The worst part is this is a budget truck for sure. So there's a lot of plastic everywhere up here on the dash. Basically everything feels like it's kind of molded. But that being said, For plastics, Ford did a pretty good job. They're all kind of grained and they do at least look and feel a bit interesting. And I also really love what they've done with this lower section of the dashboard. Under here, instead of it just being one bin, it's actually got these little cubbies and compartments. So it means that there's plenty of places to put your phone, or if you're like me, I love to take my wallet out when I get in the car, I have a place to stash that. No shortage of small item storage in here, which you can't say about all small trucks. For 2025, the Maverick didn't just add the Lobo trim, it also got a big tech upgrade. And this 13.2-inch touchscreen, it is standard across the board on all Mavericks. It looks fantastic. The only problem with it is it's canted a little bit too far forward. It's a bit like trying to type on your laptop when you're sitting on a plane. The screen's just tilted a little bit too far. I just wish it was a touch more vertical. But other than that, no real complaints. You're getting wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And in this particular version of the Maverick, you also get an absolutely fantastic surround view camera that takes up the whole thing. With the right package added, you're also going to get great trailering tools as well. So this can only tow 2,000 pounds, but if you need to connect a trailer or do all of that, it's got plenty of technology to help you do those sorts of things. All in all, no matter what Maverick you're getting, we think you'll be pretty happy with the interior. What we love about a hot hatch is it's as comfortable on a trip to IKEA as it is on a canyon road. But that's a hatch and this is a truck. And even though the Maverick is a little truck, it's got a bed, which means it has big utility. We've got 10 tie downs, including these two on the tailgate that double as bottle openers, a little hidden storage space, an optional household outlet, tie down rails, and a second setting for the tailgate that will allow you to carry longer items like a sheet of plywood. All of that packed into a 4.5-foot bed. We recently had a Civic hatchback in and it was able to fit 6 pieces of luggage in its cargo area. So we wanted to see what that exact same luggage would look like in the back of the Maverick. As you can see, it all fits in here with plenty of room to spare, and in case you don't want to leave it in the bed where it's exposed, you can just toss it all here in the back seat. The Lobo starts at just over $37,000, but this example that we have here today, it's just over $43,000 thanks to the addition of one big options package that adds a lot of the cool equipment you'll find in the bed. That surround view camera, the B&O audio system, that's all stuff you can skip if you really want to get into a Lobo for cheaper. Now, compared to the other vehicles we've mentioned today, like hatchbacks and performance cars, the Lobo is going to offer a lot more utility than those vehicles, but then again, the Lobo isn't going to offer the same driving experience. A more apt comparison is something like the Hyundai Santa Cruz, but the turbocharged versions of that truck, they start at well over $40,000, and I think that the Hyundai lacks a lot of the charm that we like so much in the Maverick and the Lobo especially. Now, as a performance vehicle, it's hard to say the Lobo was anything but a letdown. I waited so long to drive this and then I got behind the wheel and yes, it was a bit underwhelming. But I think that's because Ford didn't go far enough. Vehicles like the GMC Cyclone or the Ford F-150 Lightning, not the electric one, the street one, those names still carry weight today because they were real performance trucks and they really offered you a ton of power and a lot of fun on the road. This Maverick Lobo, it probably needs to get lowered by about 3 inches to look really mean. It probably needs a bit more power under the hood, and it especially needs better tires and brakes. And yes, those are 2 problems you can fix yourself at home, but otherwise, we're gonna have to wait for Ford to kind of wake up a bit and be like, yeah, this sport truck thing is something that we wanna give 100% to. So hopefully something like a Maverick ST or even RS is in the works, and I hope I get to drive and I hope it's good because please, Ford, don't break my heart again. Thanks for watching.